So we're back for another Mindset Monday, another Monday Parent Mindset. And what I want to share is that I know to be true and that right now can be really hard to believe is that even with shelter in place, even with schools going virtual, even with coronavirus cases spiking in some places, we don't have to be alone in this. Especially as parents, we can't be. We really need each other. Let me know in the comments where are you tuning in from, so I can get a feel for where folks are joining us from today. And I wanted to tell you a good story, an uplifting story, a story that will hopefully bring you some inspiration and hope. So this weekend, we had the opportunity to gather, and there were 23 families who decided to gather this weekend. We got to play, we got to dance, we got to move and practice our stretches and self-care. We got to learn about healthy sleep habits. We got to learn about motivating kids without using rewards or punishments and finding ways to help them be self-motivated from within. We got to exchange ideas, coach each other, and much, much more. Even right now in this situation, we found a way. And I'm coming back from this immersive 3-day experience with these families with my cup just over full. How many of you have had that feeling before? Let me know in the comments, where you finally get to really connect with some other adults, especially as a parent of younger kids. And you really get to connect with some other adults who get it. They're also running into, kids pushing back and maybe not cooperating. They're also feeling like they want to just sort of give up some days because they're so exhausted. They're also confused about what to do about, the virtual learning or shelter in place and how to keep kids connected to their friends. Let me know in the comments, when's the last time you felt really connected to some other adults who are also parents and felt like your cup was overfull with that sense of community? I want to know, and I want you to share with us, because I think it's really important right now that we crowdsource our ideas and put them together. What's one way that you as a family have found to be socially connected to other families? What's something you've done that has still, kept you healthy and safe and not sharing germs? What's something you did even before this pandemic to stay connected and in community? Share with us right now. And I'm going to share also some thoughts that I gathered from this 3 days spending this time with the families. So you might have noticed I had shared a photo on the post kind of inviting folks into this training today, of a bunch of folks who, came together this weekend, and we did it on Zoom. We found a way to be on Zoom and to be in community. It was beautiful. I'll just share one of my favorite photos with you, because what I saw happen with this community of folks, what I saw happen was that when we have a chance to really share, it's not just a share circle here. I'll just show you. This was a moment where we said, put up a heart if you notice there's another big-hearted parent in this training right now, and they put their big hearts up. And this was at the end. We had a chance to be together for the 3 days in the Motivation Mastery weekend. And these are parents from Washington, from Nebraska, from Texas, all over the Bay Area, coming together and making sure that we stayed connected while we learned together. A couple things that we found out to be true, and I've known this to be true, but it's so great to go back into this learning space and find out again. And tell me if you found this to be true also in the comments. Say same here was what my experience was. Really type it into the comments. what I found to be true is that 1 + 1 equals a whole lot more than 2, as one of my coaches, Imani Aisha, would say about a marriage, right? About a partnership. But I would say 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 all the way up to 23, because we had 23 families this weekend, equals a whole lot more than 23. It really does. We had hundreds of really great ideas and insights come out of the weekend. Things about like how to use growth mindset with our kids and how to help them have a growth mindset. Things about like how to help kids when they're struggling and not wanting to sort of push through and they're starting to give up, how to motivate them again. Things like what choices to offer a child to give them a sense of autonomy, give them a sense of like ownership, give them a sense of, sort of that like personhood, that dignity of like power with instead of power over. Came up with dozens and dozens of ideas of ways that we could offer choices. And these are things that, you could sit and you could read an article, you could read a book, and have a good list of ideas to work off of, sure. But the difference it made to be in community, and you can feel into this could even just be in like talking about like how to use your blender. I mean, it doesn't have to be something related to parenting, but like when you get to bounce ideas off each other, something really happens, and it is like this exponential discovery process. It's not linear. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had that experience and where you've had it. Like perhaps you have a teaching team. I see my Aunt Helene is on Facebook. Maybe when you get together with the other teachers and you have a moment to just kind of have a jam session, brainstorm, you solve problems quicker. You find out that there are more resources than you thought available, and then you can suddenly pull off a big event like a 3-day tournament, right? Maybe you're running a little homeschooling pod, or maybe you're trying to organize that, and you're noticing that when you start to bounce ideas off of other parents, you can really kind of crowdsource and come together with, okay, well, I know this language teacher, I know this math teacher, I know the science teacher. What if we put it all together for our family? I have a client who did that recently for her 6 going on 7, going into 1st grade daughter. Kind of came up with like stay-at-home summer camp over the summer to help with childcare and also give the kids an experience like camp they normally wouldn't have. And they pooled their resources, and not everybody could pay the same amount, but they figured it out together. This is a time where we can do that. We can actually reach across like divides and come together and be creative. I saw parents of 15-year-olds jamming with parents of 2- and 4-year-olds this weekend, talking about the same thing, which is like our vision for our kids and how we want them to be motivated in their lives. So I really want to encourage you right now to make a list for yourself following these questions, okay? So the first one is, what did community look like before COVID and the pandemic and shelter in place? What did community look like? When you said the word, if you were to say like, I have a community and it looks like, how would you fill that in? So for example, for me, it'd be like, I had a dance community that would go to this like Motown Monday party, and keep seeing familiar faces and sharing the dance floor with them. That's one way community looked for me. I had more meals with my grown children now in closed spaces like restaurants, inviting my cousins and my aunts and her fiance, and we'd all get together. That's a way that community looked before. I would go on little adventures, right? Like with a group of friends, or with, one other person, like going and exploring a new place or a new restaurant or a new town. I would have a lot more sort of collaborative meals, right? Like we kind of potluck it up, so we wouldn't all have to be cooking every day and share meals together. So just make your own list of like, what did community look like before the pandemic? I think sometimes after, it's been now, 5 months or so, 4 months, pretty solidly straight, at least in the Bay Area, where we're really impacted here. We're not back to life as normal. We're just not. Some of you are starting to like, zone out of, like you might be on like, zone 2 or 3, kind of phasing back in, but a lot of us aren't here. And it's really brought to mind like how important community is and how important connection is. So Anyway, so go ahead and look at that list. Hi, Deb. Nice to see you. We're making a list of the ways that we experienced community before the pandemic hit. So you'd fill in the blank. Before the pandemic, the way community looked like for me, was, and you write a list. So I gave some examples. Now, look at your list. And what I want you to do is I want you to draw a little arrow next to each one, as in like, almost like a conversion, like you're going to convert it to something else. You're going to shift it. And when you, on the other side of that arrow, I want you to write down a word or two, or even a sentence, a phrase of what it meant to you to have that kind of community. And specifically, how did it impact you? So for me, like the dancing one would be exercise and getting into my body, right? The meal sharing one would be less stress about organizing my meals, was something that the way that that impacted me. Another one could be, getting to see new things in new places, was like the one from the adventure one, right? Those are like three of the things that I had written down. So go ahead and write that down in yours. Little arrow, or even can think about it. And if you want to share it in the comments, even better, so I can get a sense of what you're thinking about. And feel free to come and hop over on Zoom. And we can have a chat. So Deb is saying, before the pandemic, community looked like weekly movement classes, yoga classes, dance classes, exercise community. Great. So Deb, what did you get to have from that? How did that impact you? What positive impact did it have on you? Like what did you get to have because of that dance and exercise community? So you can share that with me in the comments. And those of you who are listening, that you should have a pretty good list now of like several things that you got to have, how it impacted you, right? Now, looking at that list, we're going to do what I had to do. And I'll just be totally transparent with you. I had to come up with a way for a 3-day live event that was usually in some beautiful location, like at the beach or in wine country in Sonoma. I had to figure out how to do it virtually in a way that would be engaging, would be exciting, where people would still learn so much and really have that feeling of like being in that community, right? That group learning experience where like, we're parents, we're here, we're together. We don't have to parent alone. We get to be this village, that village that raises the child. We get to be this village together and learn and grow together. I had to recreate that for a 3-day event with 8 sessions, imagine, okay? So here's some things that I learned. You absolutely can have elements of what you used to have before the pandemic now, no matter what your shelter-in-place status is. You absolutely can. And you can do it in what I don't know if you haven't heard of it before, you can do it with an affinity group. An affinity group is just a group of people who all have something in common that they can share their experience about. So there are affinity groups for, new moms, for example, right? You heard the moms groups. There are affinity groups for LGBTQ youth, right? So they can come together and share their experiences. So you can absolutely have the elements of the things that you wrote down in an affinity group. And that's why like this exists, right? The Raising Our Resilience parent group is because it's an affinity group for parents who would like to be able to raise resilient children, knowing that they also have to be resilient to raise resilient children. That's your affinity group, right? You're here in it right now. So you get to be in community with other people that have similar interests or needs or kind of like problems they're solving, and get to recapture some of that experience that you had before the pandemic. So here's a few ways that I did it. First, don't forget to have fun, like humor, like cracking jokes, enjoying a good laugh, showing a funny picture. Like I created a scavenger hunt where everybody had to run around their house and find something that their child made, something that their child has outgrown, something that reminds them that they're a great parent, right? We found these 8 things, and something silly to wear, right? Or something fun to wear. And then we came back and then went into these breakout rooms and had a chance to show and tell, like put on your funny hat and your funny glasses, show the art that your kid made, show the really cute little socks that your baby, used to wear but is now 4. and have a moment to just like have some fun. We also built in a little dance party. Like we had somebody come who was like a really great mover and shaker, and she just put on some great music and led us and had us move, and it was great. And it didn't take much to bring the joy. Like we had a 10-minute dance party, 2 songs, and we were full of joy. So of course, those were some things that were on my list, right? Like being able to have fun and get some exercise, move my body, get out of my head. Deb, by the way, who's here, also leads amazing transformative movement classes. So you can hit her up right in the comments, find out what she's up to lately. And we get to experience a little piece of what we had before. Now, it's not going to be like recreating it entirely, because we're doing things like this, like we're on Zoom and we're, you know, in Facebook groups and virtual spaces. But it doesn't mean the community can't happen. We really can have it. The other thing that I've been doing ever since shelter in place is having regular meetups. So you can see the photo that I shared, right? There's like this whole group of folks. Well, you know, a good, I think there's maybe about a dozen in that photo. A good 10 of those families are meeting on the regular with, you know, in my immersion program. So it doesn't need to be my program, but just some group that you can be a part of and meet with them regularly and drop in and be real and connect with each other. Excuse me. And often it can be like, you know, a learning community is really fun because, and that's why, you know, obviously as an educator, I love it. Like being able to like challenge yourself to learn and to grow and to like kind of make progress in your personal development. And in my case, and like, you know, really getting to see parents go try things like connecting before correcting. And then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, my kid, you know, I didn't have to tell them 5 times to put, you know, to switch from Legos to come to lunch. It worked, right? And then we start getting excited and getting this natural boost of motivation of like, we're in this together, moving forward together. So those are just a couple of thoughts. Join an affinity group that meets regularly. And you know, show up and bring something fun to the table, make a game, make a contest, throw a little mini dance party, even if it's just like 30 seconds, you know, moving your body. And Deb says, connection with other women, relief from home life stuff, and the opportunity to reconnect to herself were the things that she used to get from her pre-COVID experiences, right? Yeah. And not getting to be an aunt, a sister, or a partner, but getting that important self reset to remember you. Yeah. So in your case, it was like a way for you to step out of the regular routine and into a different group of people that you don't have those roles to play in. Yeah, true. Right. How many of you can feel that, like, you know, that you had something before COVID that you were able to sort of find, just kind of be yourself and not have to wear the hat of like mom and homemaker and dad or, you know, whatever, right? All the different roles we play, we get to have a separate space where you just kind of get to be yourself. Yeah, absolutely. One thing that was cool that happened this weekend, kind of connected to that, Deb, is that, you know, for a lot of almost everybody in the event had a moment of reflection where they said, this is the longest time I've spent with other adults, you know, and having a little space from the kids since shelter in place started. Like a solid weekend with a group, like, hasn't happened. And that was just kind of mind-blowing for folks to be like, wow, it's really actually nice to have this continuity with a group of people and getting to know them over time. And like, we started cracking some inside jokes even by the end of the weekend, just moments that we had all shared. And then we did this gratitude. So another thing that can really boost connection during this time is building in gratitude practices that help you recognize other people. So one of the practices I'll share with you that we did, and then we're going to need a wrap, and there's more, but this is a few gems before I head out here, is first taking a moment to notice like who in your life loves and supports and really wants your child to be successful, happy, and healthy, right? Like who's there, even if they can't see them, right? It could be a teacher who's getting their classroom, you know, getting the virtual classroom ready for them. It could be an aunt who lives in a different state. It could be a grandparent, right? It could be a neighbor who's been asking, hey, can we set up a play date? And it's really a powerful thing to help kids feel that there is this like web, this like circle, this like web of support, of interconnectedness, of relationship with all of these people who care about them. And sometimes you don't have a huge web in your immediate circle. But what I would imagine, what I would encourage you to do is think about how in the closest relationships, what are the people doing that they kind of go a little bit above and beyond just sort of the, like, kind of like what you would expect a grandparent or an aunt or a neighbor or a teacher to do. Pick one thing and tell a story to your child. They're called gratitude stories. And of course we don't say, I'm going to tell you a gratitude story, because it kind of sounds like, hey, you should be grateful. We're just like, did you know? And I'm going to think of somebody in my weekend group. Mm-hmm. Did you know that Robin Smith, who came and did movement with us this weekend, that she was actually on her way out to a 4-day adventure trip, and she had her bags packed and everything, but she didn't leave until she did our session with us, because she believes so much that parents should have access to really great self-care practices and movements so that they can take care of their body, spirit, and mind and bring their best self to their children. And that she's so dedicated to the resilience of parents that, you know, she was willing to like push off her whole road trip just so she can make the session and share these gifts with you. Yeah, it definitely cost her some time on the road. Like, she's gonna have to drive in the dark. And we got to benefit from that, right? Like, we got to move and stretch and get our energy back up so we could learn more in the afternoon. Yeah, after hearing that, how does that make you feel? And then, you know, you kind of turn it back to the kid. You turn it, even I'm modeling how I would do it with the parents in my event. And they'd be like, wow, you know, I just feel like I just really appreciate Robin. How kind of her. That makes me feel warm and good. Like, she obviously really cares about us. And then imagine the next time they see this person, how, you know, they might kind of lean forward and feel a little more connected and want to kind of like look at them different, like, oh, you're this person who cares and is giving this up and really wants to give us something, give me something. And you're really dedicated. I want to lean in too. I want to get to know you. I want to, you know, kind of bask in this connection. Right now we can be really separate and lonely feeling because we're not having a lot of FaceTime with people. So I think it can be really important for us to remember who we do have in our lives, especially who our children have in their lives. So the last thing I want you to do before we get off here, you know, and say goodbye for the week, is it's two parts. First, right now, especially, you could do it in the comments if you want, just write a couple of names down of people that you could tell a gratitude story to somebody else in your life who maybe needs a little bit of extra love right now, who might be feeling lonely. And that person, by the way, can be you. So think of several folks who are in your world who really do love and support the person you have in mind, especially a child. Since it's a parent group, you could think of your child who loves, support, and really want and do things on behalf and towards that goal on behalf of your children, on behalf of their love in their heart. So go ahead and make a little list, and it could just be 2 people, 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. I'm going to challenge you to find at least 3. And what I want you to do over this next week is write down or verbally tell some stories, kind of following the template, the model that I just gave you of who is this person, what did they do? They're your benefactor. What benefit did you get, or did the person get who was impacted? In this case, it could be your child, right? What did they get to have? What did the other person have to give up? And did they do it on purpose? You know, it's like, oh yeah, they intentionally, like this example I had, she intentionally gave up some of her time, her driving time, to be able to give the movement work to us. How does that make you feel? Kind of tuning into what might be welling up in you and like, oh, I feel loved, I feel cared, I feel grateful, I feel appreciative. And then I love this question. because this is where the social glue, that gratitude really helps us to kind of stick to each other. How would you like to show your appreciation? It's my little, this is my like little, like my most enlivening thing that I've ever come across, is this feeling of connection through gratitude that we can create in our communities. So how does this relate to the first thing we did? Well, I'd love for you to go back to the list of things that you are missing, and the way that you got to experience, the thing you got to experience from it, okay? Now, I'm curious, and I would love for you to tell me in the comments, because it's a little bit of an experiment. I'm curious if anyone on your list of people would be great candidates to recreate some kind of experience with, to have that same feeling, whether it's that feeling of like really getting to be yourself with somebody, like Deb's examples, or someone on your list that you're thinking of, that you could recreate some kind of experience, create a new experience even, where you say, you know what, can we just like sip and share on a Zoom call tonight? Can we walk and talk? Can we that's something we had the parents do this weekend. They got on the phone with another parent randomly assigned, and they just got a chance to chat about like their hopes and dreams for their kids and ideas for motivating kids with less punishments and rewards, etc. Could you do a sip and share? Could you do a walk and talk with this person? Could you write them a letter and send it to them, letting them know that you're thinking of them? Could you, like on my birthday on Monday was just a great showering of like options of ways we can stay connected. I had someone send me flowers. Somebody else organized a little Zoom party where everybody had a candle and held it up, and they sang happy birthday. Super sweet. That was my mom. She even went and dropped off cupcakes at a few of my relatives' houses so we could do a birthday moment. These are things, I'm not bragging that like I'm receiving all of this. I want to give you ideas of things that you can be generous about and create for your communities as well. And the last thing I would really encourage you to do, Hailey, nice to see you. Last thing I would really encourage you to do is to consider leaning into affinity groups. So get into pods or crews or regular meetups, however it looks for you, depending on your level of comfort with being in person or not. And come up with a regular time that you're going to be able to look forward to seeing them or connecting with them. It's what I create in my programs. It's what I create right here in the Raising Our Resilience parent group, is we get to come together on Mondays and, have this conversation. So I really encourage you to find an affinity groups in your space, or come and hang out here every Monday at 2, so we can have these chats. And Deb, I'm so glad you were able to make it and participate live. If you're listening to the recording, you can also keep commenting on these videos. This is a space where we can connect with each other, and we really don't have to do this parenting thing alone. We really don't. Lee knows that. And all the parents who came this weekend to the virtual retreat got to experience that as well, many of whom are in this group as well as in the immersion. And one last thought is, don't be shy to invite people in. Like, you can organize something yourself, right? Like you could do a scavenger hunt, like party game for 30 minutes on Zoom. Just flash with your friends and say, hey, y'all, I got this idea how we can play a scavenger hunt. See if you can make it. See you at 9 p.m. tonight. And just do it with some other parents. You could organize it for the kids and their friends too. There are a lot of great, I even just Googled, I just looked up great games to play in Zoom rooms, and that's how I figured out my scavenger hunt. So it's really in reach, and it just takes that spark. I hope that this talk has helped you with that, to realize how much we can still have that sense of community and connection for not just ourselves, but for our children too. So I'll leave you with that. So thinking about the people in your life that you feel are loving and supportive and really want your kids to be successful and healthy, and starting to tell those stories to your kids, and finding a way to maybe get into some virtual connection with those people. It's a little bit of an experiment, but I bet you could find a way. And I'd love to hear back next week what you discovered, what you ended up doing. And I'll leave you with this last thing. I keep having one more thing, but this is the real last one. So I put out a call out as a birthday wish for members of this group to invite other people in. And that's because I do believe in the power of community. And so one of the things you can do if you want to have a regular meetup with some parent friends is come to these Monday talks at 2 p.m. together, and then hop on Zoom, hop on the phone for even 10 minutes just to say, what did you like? What did you like? What were you going to try? Here's what I'm going to try. It's what I build into my year-long immersion. But if you're not in the immersion in this cohort, no problem. Like, you could figure that out just by coming here into this space and grabbing a video and doing little bite sizes. It's not like the whole enchilada, the whole 7 pillars, like the immersion, but you could get little bite-sized pieces and chew them up together, savor them together, enjoy them together, taste them together, and decide what you might try next. So what I had invited folks to do is please go over to the invite section of the Facebook group. It's this cute little column on the side. Usually it populates with little pictures of your friends. And if you just click in there, you can put in some friends' names, like who comes to mind when you think of other parents who you would love to kind of affinity group up and like come and hang out in this space. I had a parent once invite 20 of her friends in, and then they were super active, for several months, kind of trying to sort things out as this whole shelter in place thing started. And they were really super grateful that their friend had invited them in, because it's like, hey, I didn't even know these kinds of resources existed on Facebook. So you never know who would love to hear from you and join with you. So just wanting to share an easy way to do that. So I'm going to go back to the main group just to show you where that is if you haven't found it yet, but you can do it while you're on with me here. And you go over to the side of your screen, the side of the Facebook group page. So you might even need to exit out of this video to do it. And it's just this part right here. And if you go in here and you enter in a name, like Deb was here today, usually what happens is there's a little drop-down menu and you can just hit enter and then you can send an invite. And that's super nice. It's really fun to be able to do that. And if you wanted to add a message, you can click here and just add a little note like, hi, love this group, would love to learn this kind of thing with you, this kind of stuff with you. Join me, something like that. And then next thing you know, you can come to these Monday talks, or just tag each other in some of the trainings or in some of the posts and get a conversation going and feel a little bit less lonely, a little less isolated. So that's what I've got for you all this week. I'm so glad you joined me. Even if you're just listening to the recording, no problem. If you weren't able to be here live, I totally get it. And there is a contest going on for inviting friends into the group. And I've got a pretty fun prize for you, which is a $440 credit towards the Family Foundation's immersion group. We have a 1 or 2 spots left in our cohort this year. We just started this month in July, so it's not too late to join. And what the credit would do is it would totally wipe out your deposit, so you could just start by paying the monthly tuition. So there's that prize, and we're also giving away a $25 gift card to Amazon, so you can maybe deliver some flowers to yourself or get that fun joke book that you and your kids could have a good time maybe doing a joke play date with one of their friends. So the way you would do it is you would just invite at least 10 of your friends to join the Raising Our Resilience parent group, in like how I showed you, by next Monday. So we'll come back here and I'll announce the prize winners. Yeah, so 10 or more people, and for every entry, for every person who ends up joining, you get an extra entry into the contest. Yeah, so there's nothing to lose. It's like a free, you just go invite, and then you're in the contest. It's pretty easy. Anyway, so would love to see you here back again next Monday at 2. With that, I'll leave you. Have a great rest of your week. And just remember, community is available. If you want it, you can build it. You really can. I did it. I took a whole live event and made it virtual, a 3-day live event, so, and parents were able to connect, you can do it too. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.